China and the US tensions have escalated in recent years, with the threat of China being unwilling to support the American economy any longer. With trillions in debt being held by China, the Fed would have to pick up the pieces. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to look at a bunch of different images that I believe to be very powerful. I wanted to share them with you. We're covering multiple topics today. Let's look at this. I believe this is very telling, very powerful. Look at this diagram. The red lines are China, the blue lines are the US. Countries for which China is the largest trading partner, that's 124. Countries for which America is the largest trading partner, 56. Now, surely the totals aren't given here, but it would tell us another dimension to this. But I would say that we are setting up for a global dominance. Perhaps not today, but in the future, as the decades go on, we can see that things are changing. And this is very telling, I do believe so. It's not that China and Russia are doing business together and that's it, the axis of evil. And they are simply partnered with each other, nobody else. I mean, look at this diagram, and it shows you that their dominance is truly global. Let's move on. NAFTA, everybody knows about NAFTA, how terrible it is. This chart shows you something very interesting. I'm not necessarily agreeing with everything in these diagrams, but just take a look. 74% of all Canadian exports go to the US. The reason I mention this, before I get into the rest, is that something is very clear. When one country is dominant, is really reliant on one particular nation, like Canada is to the US, you will have a very big problem with your exports should that country suffer. US exports, 30% of all US exports go to Canada and Mexico, and then 75% of all Mexican exports go to the US. So in both cases, Canada and the US will suffer should the US not require more goods. Remember that, very important for a commodities-based nation or anything else. This applies to all different things. I'm always trying to just remind you of all those things that are important here. I'm going to scroll down just very quickly. And this, we're looking at the share of the North American auto production. One quick point that I wanted to make from this, and actually this as well. Let's see if I can do this. Manufacturing employment. There's no doubt. And it's often talked about as being just the US, but look at this. This is Canada. Ontario, Canada, doing the exact same thing as what's happening in Michigan. Exactly. Declining manufacturing employment. The people are happy because they can work their service-based jobs. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't pay as much as the other ones. The only reason I wanted to mention this was if you look here, 6% from Mexico, 13% in 2007, and then more current numbers show you 20%. The share of Mexicans producing the auto manufacturing is definitely clear. I mean, it's multiplying significantly over the years. That's very obvious. And then also when you look at Brazil and China and the expansion that's going on in those nations as well. China and the US, what we're looking at is the global economy by GDP, but I just want you to focus on the US and China clearly dominating the entire chart here. And it's just good to visually see these. I do believe it's important, okay? Look at this here, and it's very telling that the two big boys are very apparent, and that's something that we need to really look for if the tables start to turn as the years go on, as they do seem like they are. Sphere of influence. More than half of the people on the earth live within this circle. And to me, that shows you something big. There are more people in this circle than outside of it. It just really, really tells me something about population density as well. This is just a close-up showing you 22 of the world's 37 megacities holding at least 10 million people, all within that circle. This also tells me something about population density. And maybe I'll get into it in this one here. America's $18 trillion economy divided in half. And you can see that the concentration of wealth that occurs even within a particular nation. And that's something that people don't really take into account. That when you say the US is doing bad, there may be pockets that are doing extremely well. But you compare that to, let's say, other regions, you may get a very different picture. So that's what I want to know. When you use generalizations, but there are always pockets that are doing well. Like if you say the stock market is doing terribly, and Apple stock has been up every single day for the past 2 years, you're just you have to generalize in some cases. You could say the general global economy is not doing well, but then you cherry pick on one thing or another. It's just the way it is. What I would say about population density is that many people say that the world is overpopulated. When you look at some of these charts, it shows you, there was one in here somewhere, it shows you the fact that most of the world, in fact, is not populated. Maybe I can pull up this one here. Most of the world is unpopulated. In fact, most of Russia is, most of Canada is, Greenland as well, Australia, same thing. Now you may say those areas are largely unlivable, but it's not really unlivable, maybe uncomfortable for a lot of these places, but certainly not unlivable. There's a lot of area out there available to people, should they desire. Now, all of the people seem to be really geographically really close together, and that presents a big problem in some ways. That's all I wanted to note because it seems to be a reoccurring theme, and I think it's important. Last but not least, all gold mined in human history, that's $6.8 trillion worth, and look at it compared to the Statue of Liberty. That's in all of history, all the gold mined, and I believe it, if you think about it, it's not that big. I mean, Statue of Liberty is pretty tall, but thinking about it is really not that big. So I thought that was interesting as well to visually see that. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. If you like these type of videos, of course, I will do more in the future. If you found the video informative, I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS and Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. So go over to Amazon. They have this look inside feature that allows you to flip through the pages of these books to see if you like it. Take care.